I told you you were not supposed to drive. So what it tells me is one bad decision after the another. You didn't learn anything. You violated the law again by driving the same car that you already killed somebody with. You were not supposed to be behind that wheel.
It was my honor and privilege to hear the sister survivors. It is my honor and privilege to sentence you.
No problem, because I have thick skin. But once you bring in my children, I think that's highly improper.
I didn't even know you have children. I don't know what you're talking about. Your children? What about your children?
For them to comment on my children is highly improper, and for this court to allow that kind of testimony is also improper.
I don't remember any comments about any children. And if there was, it obviously didn't, it came and went without me noticing it.
Judge, I can assure you that if they were talking about your children, you would definitely notice.
You need to sit down right now. You're out of line.
This is Nikolas Cruz, the man responsible for the Parkland shooting, which took the lives of 17 people and wounded 17 others. He is being charged with 17 counts of murder and 17 counts of attempted murder. Most of the victims were students. Many in the court during this hearing were parents and family members.
Behind their arguments. But we all are witnessing what is occurring in this courtroom.
Which is myself. I'm the judge.
And
I understand that I'm in
Thank you,
charge
Judge.
of the decorum. And I feel that 99% or a great percentage of what has been said has been appropriate. Everybody has maintained decorum, but for a few comments, it's best to just move on as opposed to highlight them.
This is the lawyer for Nikolas Cruz, who along with the rest of the defense team continues to provoke the judge and disregard her instructions throughout the trial.
And they want to say that they're not happy about it. What is the problem? Things that have gone on from that table, like shooting the middle finger up at this court and laughing and joking. Miss McNeil, be quiet.
No problem, because I have thick skin. But once you bring in my children, I think that's highly improper. I
didn't even know you have children. I don't know what you're talking about. Your children? What about your children?
For them to comment on my children is highly improper, and for this court to allow that kind of testimony is also improper.
I don't remember any comments about any children. And if there was, it obviously didn't, it came and went without me noticing it.
Judge, I can assure you that if they were talking about your children, you would definitely notice.
You need to sit down right now. You're out of line.
The judge is referring to the earlier unprofessional behavior displayed by the defense team.
You're excused. You need to go sit in the back with your chief public defender. Mr. Weeks, please ask the lawyer from your office to go sit down and not say anything else. To try to threaten my children and bring up my children is inappropriate. Go to the back of the room now.
The defense steps way over the line about bringing up the judge's family, and she doesn't waste any time letting him know that he has made a mistake.
My attorneys.
We're moving on with the sentencing, Mr. Weeks.
So can I have a brief recess?
No.
Thank you.
It's 1:36. Thank you. State, go ahead and call your next witness.
The judge has made herself clear, but the defense continues to push against her decisions. Not only is his behavior unprofessional, but it has taken attention away from the case. Cruz pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 34 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Sometimes a judge isn't provoked, but due to the nature of the case, they feel the need to speak out. This is what happened during the trial of Larry Nasser.
Because you are guilty, aren't you? Are you guilty, sir?
I said my plea, exactly.
The defendant, Larry Nasser, was a famous gymnastics coach who worked with up-and-coming Olympic gymnasts. Accusations against him began as early as the mid-90s, but it wasn't until 2015 when Maggie Nichols and her coach, Sarah Jancy, reported Nasser to USA Gymnastics officials. Nasser was charged with assaulting at least 265 young women and girls under the guise of medical treatment. Here, he is facing charges of child pornography and first-degree sexual assault.
tore my hamstring in my right leg. This was when he started performing the procedure that we are all now familiar with.
The next visit was for my shoulder, which I then found out my hips were out of alignment, which then made my spine and my pelvic bone out of alignment as well. And this is when Larry decided that it was medically acceptable to violate a 16-year-old girl.
Sir, I'm giving you 175 years, which is 2,100 months.
The judge is getting ready to read Nasser's sentence, and the pleasure in her voice is almost palpable. Nasser's judge was fairly restrained, given the nature of the crime. The next judge has a similar case, but with younger victims, and her revulsion comes across in her impassioned speech.
I'm so sick and tired of seeing adults ruin and abuse children. These are literally just one step from being babies. They come to a daycare, those parents struggle so that when they release their children to someone during the day, they have some semblance that that child is going to be protected and safe. Not let alone 2 of their children being raped by your own admission, sir.
Terry McFadden. The judge has to brace herself against the horrible nature of the case. Now that she has sentenced McFadden, she wants him to know exactly what she thinks of him, and she doesn't hold back.
I'm going to tell you something, Mr. McFadden. There's no free rapes in my courtroom. On count 1, I'm sending you to prison for 11 years. On count 4, I'm sending you to prison for 11 years. They will be consecutive to each other for a total of 22 years.
Terry McFadden took advantage of his wife's position as a home-based daycare worker to abuse 2 of her charges, ages 4 and 6. Their parents became concerned with what their daughters were telling them and came forward. Given the ages of some of the other children, it is entirely possible that McFadden had more victims. McFadden has nothing to say in his defense and wisely chooses not to provoke the judge as he is led away. The crimes of the next defendant are no less horrific, but unlike McFadden, Ronnie O'Neill chooses to get confrontational with the judge.
For something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did do.
Mr. O'Neill,
All right.
Listen, stop.
All right.
Listen to me.
I'm not
You're not going to raise your voice again.
I'm not going to raise my voice again. I'm not.
I will have you removed from this courtroom. I can sentence you without you being present.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't conduct
I
yourself.
understand, Your Honor.
Thank you.
This is Ronnie O'Neill, and sorry doesn't even begin to cover what he should be feeling. O'Neill shot his girlfriend before killing his 9-year-old daughter with a hatchet and attempted to stab his 8-year-old son to death. O'Neill is being charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, 2 counts of aggravated child abuse, and arson.
death scream.
We're gonna see if it's true.
But what happened to little Ronivia and to little Ronnie, but I'm gonna focus on Ronivia because she was special. And you could tell Miss Barron had done everything she could to create a beautiful home for her family. I noticed that the Ronivia's bedroom, before you set it on fire.
O'Neill becomes more sober as the judge berates him, but he still doesn't regret what he has done.
He betrayed in the cruelest, most tragic and sorrowful way that a child could ever be betrayed. She was being betrayed by her parent, the one person that should be there to protect their children and love them and keep them from harm. And that was the last thing that child felt before she passed on from this earth, was your utter, cruel betrayal to her. And I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's true or not, I have no idea, but I read somewhere that souls pick their lives and that they know exactly how difficult their lives are going to be before they enter into this world. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, Ronivia O'Neill is one of the bravest souls I have ever come across in my 54 years on this planet. One of the bravest ever, ever, because she suffered so traumatically.
The judge doesn't sugarcoat what happened, and her words paint a vivid picture of the crime scene. The judge is more upset by the death of the child than O'Neill, who remains unmoved. O'Neill was found guilty on all charges and sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 90 years. What could make a judge more upset than a crime against a child? Having a defendant who caused the death of a child back in their courtroom for going against their ruling, which is what happened with Lavon Tantine.
I told you you were not supposed to drive. So what it tells me is one bad decision after the another. You didn't learn anything. You violated the law again by driving the same car that you already killed somebody with. You were not supposed to be behind that wheel.
The judge is furious that Tantine, previously charged with manslaughter and vehicular manslaughter, would get behind the wheel of a car after causing the death of a child, and he isn't likely to show mercy when it comes to the sentence.
To the Chinese place to get me and my kids something to eat.
Did I release you on bail to say that it was on the condition you don't joyride?
The defendant, Lavon Tantine, shows no remorse. During the initial crime, he was teaching his girlfriend, Brianna Hightower, how to drive when she struck 8-year-old Tumaini Filbert when he ran into the road. Tantine took control of the car and backed over the boy, although he claimed he was trying to help. Because of his decision to disregard the judge's orders, Tantine was given the maximum sentence of 3 to 7 years in prison. Tarantine's judge was less than impressed by his decision to go against the court order, but Judge Vonda Evans took it a step further and returned a defendant's insults with a few choice words of her own. Anthony Thornton has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct.
Me and her had consensual sex. Oh, you had consensual sex. Okay. I asked her.
3 counts of second-degree criminal sexual conduct, 1 count of kidnapping, and 2 counts of unlawful imprisonment. In 2010, Thornton and several other men lured a young woman to an abandoned building under the guise of trying to help her find work. They took turns violating her, and test results that would have connected Thornton to the crime were not processed until 2015. This allowed him to harm at least 1 other victim who was lured into a building in a similar manner to the first case.
Be quiet and don't talk in my courtroom.
Some judges might let a small interruption lie, but Judge Evans is not one of them, and she interrupts before Thornton has time to complete his sentence.
See, when you tell one lie, you got to remember the 100 lies that you told to cover that lie up.
That wasn't no lie.
Be quiet and don't talk in my courtroom.
I'm innocent.
Be quiet. Take him back.
That's right.
Take him out.
That's right.
Take him out now. No. Just take him out. I'm innocent.
And the court is going to so find the defendant guilty beyond the reasonable doubt as to count 1 and count 2, criminal sexual conduct. Mr. Thornton, I'm gonna address with the comment that you made. It was disrespectful for you
I'm sorry.
to say me.
I'm sorry. Really sorry.
The judge found Thornton guilty of all charges but kidnapping, which she did not feel was applicable to the situation since the victim went to the location by their own choice. He was sentenced to 15 to 30 years in prison. Judge Evans's reaction might have seemed extreme, but other judges don't shy away from handing out sentences for contempt, which the defendant's mother, in the next case, finds out the hard way.
Statements were read, but the judge noticed how her family reacted.
Yeah, you can go too, because if you don't know how to act, you can go to jail.
Amanda Kosol is on trial for killing Jerome Zicker in a head-on collision that she caused while driving drunk. In an unusual turn, it is her mother, not Kosol, who has angered the judge by her behavior in court.
These people are here grieving, saddened, because a senseless act took away their loved one, and you all are sitting around here like it's a joke?
Although Donna Kosol later issued a tearful apology, the judge did not change her mind about punishing her for contempt.
Well, then I deeply apologize for what I did in your court. I just needed to get out, and it's been very hard for me.
What you have to understand is, as hard as this is for you to see your baby going to prison, imagine what that family feels like when their child's dead.
Donna Kosol's daughter was sentenced to 3 to 15 years for the deadly crash.
Amanda Kosol was sentenced to 3 to 15 years in prison.